Hello and welcome back to Let's Talk Chicago Bears. Unfortunately, it's not a Victory Monday, so you're not going to get to hear me sing the victory song. I know, you're bummed, I know it, but unfortunately, what can we do? I do want to say one thing before we get into the show. I was not here on Friday. I thought I was going to do a show Saturday. I had friends, really good friends in town, and they got in town on Wednesday, and we did not stop until Saturday when they left. I was wiped out. I could not have done a show. You remember, I'm 65, okay? And we walked so much, and I only have one good leg because I have a bad knee. And so it was a blast, but exhausting. So I apologize for not being here. You know, I'm sure you guys were really bummed. But I will tell you one thing that was kind of cool. I'll talk to anybody, and I think I've mentioned that a few times on this show. And we were down on Fremont Street Friday night, and I was coming back from the bathroom, and I saw these four gentlemen around my age, maybe a little older, a couple of them, and I knew they were just doing like a guy's weekend, so I started talking to them. Had a really good time talking to them. Turns out one of them is Brian Urlacher's father-in-law and the grandfather to his children. So that was pretty cool. And he says to me, well, they're actually just got a divorce, but he still was the father-in-law and is the grandfather of Brian Urlacher's children. And the guy says to me, so who's the best linebacker on the Bears to now? And I said, well, Mike Singletary. It's between Mike Singletary and Dick Butkus. He didn't like that. He goes, Brian won't like hearing that. And I said, sorry, you asked me a question. I have to be truthful. Brian was great when he was on the Bears. Do not get me wrong. And he is in the Hall of Fame, but you know what I mean. So that was fun. I won't lie. It was pretty fun. Um, so let's get to what happened yesterday. It was one of those games where it was good and then it was bad. You know what I mean? We lost 17-24 against New Orleans, and it's pretty simple what happened. But I'll do my threes first, and then we'll get into it. So my threes will kind of point out why they didn't win. You know, my time of possession, turnovers, and penalties. Time of possession, the Bears won by less than a minute, so that don't count. Turnovers, handily New Orleans won because the Bears had 5 turnovers, New Orleans had 0. And the Bears had 8 penalties to New Orleans 2. And New Orleans didn't get their first penalty until the 4th quarter. Yeah. And there was a drive in the 3rd quarter. The Bears were driving. They were down on their end of the field. And they had 3 penalties on that drive. 3. And they would do good, and then they'd move back. They do good, they moved back, and at the end of it, they ended up only getting a field goal out of it. So at that point, it was 17-17. It sure would have been nice to have gotten a touchdown. So penalties, the turnovers and penalties are the 2 reasons the Bears lost that game yesterday. There's just no doubt about it. You know, we all know that. You can't have 5 turnovers and 8 penalties and expect to win. But what was really interesting about this game, if you go to look at the stats, they compare the 2 teams, the Bears pretty much won everything except for the turnovers and the penalties. So when I went to look, the Bears won. They had more total plays. They had more total yards. They had passing was pretty much a tie. Bears had 212 passing. New Orleans had 214. We beat them in the rushing category. We beat them in more first downs. We beat them in passing. And again, I said the rush. So we beat them in rushing first downs, and we beat them in rushing period. So really, when you look at that, if you went and looked at it, you'd be think, how could they lose that game if you didn't know the score or you didn't watch the game? 5 turnovers, okay? We all know that Badgett did not have a great game. He did, though. He played really well in the first half. Really well. The Bears actually scored on their first possession a touchdown, which if they've done that, they haven't done it since way in the beginning of the year. And I was saying on last Monday's show that the Bears have to start out fast. And they really, really did. They played a great first half. They really did. But as we all know, the second half, not so good. So Bajet was 18 of 30 for 220 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 1 fumble, and he rushed for 70 yards. So if you take those damn turnovers away, he had a damn good day. Carr was 25 of 34 for 211 yards, 2 touchdowns. So Bajet actually outplayed him as far as rushing and passing, but he had 4 turnovers. But Bajet, he looks very confident out there. The problem with Bajet is he's still very young, and he in the second half he tried to make throws he had no business doing. And this goes back to what I mentioned on my last show, that I heard Bernstein's and Holmes talking on their show 670 to Score. They were saying that he's no better than a second string quarterback. He's going to be a good second string quarterback, but that's it. And you know, he was kind of making fun of us Bears fans who said he did have a strong arm because he could make those long passes. And Bernstein was really making fun of all of us and saying, that's not what I'm saying. And yesterday's game definitely stood out as to what Bernstein was saying. He was saying he doesn't have the arm strength to get those balls in between a defender and his receiver when they're on top of each other. And we see good quarterbacks do that, where if they just thread that ball in there, and that's where Bernstein was saying he doesn't have the arm strength. And I was pissed at Bernstein, but absolutely 100%, I stand corrected. He's right. And well, at least that showed yesterday's game, because there was he had 3 interceptions, and on one of the interceptions, it was just a great defensive play. The other 2 interceptions he should not have thrown. He should have maybe run it or thrown it out of bounds. He was trying to do things he's not able to do. Now, maybe that'll change. He's so young. He is so young. But they gave New Orleans a game. That was a offensively, except for those turnovers, But so Bajet right now is not our answer. We know that. But who knows down the line? He sits and he learns and plays more. You never know what's going to happen. But I think he's going to be on the Bears for a while. He's going to be a backup for sure. So now we have to get Fields back out there anyways. Not because everyone's like, oh, Bajet sucks. Now we got to put Fields back in. We need Fields back in there because the Bears have to decide if he's the future of the Bears. So he has got to get back on the field and start to play so the Bears can move on to know what they have to do next year in the draft, etc. with Fields. So I know Bajan had a rough day, and I do kind of feel sorry for the kid, even though we lost. And I'm sure if Fields had done that, I'd be all over his ass. I would. But it is what it is. Bajan pretty much cost us that game. There's no doubt about it. But let's talk about a few other things. Foreman, our running back, number 21, had another great game. He rushed for 83 yards. Mr. Mooney had 82 yards, and he had some great catches. Clement, 85, our tight end, 55 yards with 2 touchdowns, and that first touchdown he caught was tremendous. I didn't think he caught it. I was like, man. And then they said touchdown. I'm like, what? That was a great catch. That defender was all over him, and he just stole it from the defender. Great. He had a great, great game. Clement, he really, really did. So, and then the Bears' offensive line. I think they played a pretty damn good game, except for the penalties. The offensive line had most of those penalties yesterday. Our rookie, Darnell White, had several. He's still learning. He's a good player. He's going to be good. He just still makes silly mistakes. Braxton Jones had one. Cody White here had one. And welcome back to Braxton Jones. Hello. He's back on the field. We've got our offensive line healthy and complete. And I thought they played a good game. Bajit had a lot of times. That's the one thing about Bajit. I'll give him a lot of credit where Fields really has to practice. But Bajit, when that line was starting to come together, and he's standing there and the defenders are here and they're trying to get him, he stood in there and threw. That is one problem. Fields, he just gets antsy and he can't do it, and then he starts with his feet and then he makes mistakes. So one thing you got to give Bajit is he is just cool and confident. And that is something I hope that Fields can see and learn from. But the line, I felt, had a good game yesterday, except for those penalties. But they stayed together and they let that kid. He was only sacked once, and I think that was more on Bajit. That maybe he was hanging on to the ball too long. Probably should have thrown it away, but he did it. So we know. I'm not going to beat that dead horse. We know turnovers cost us game, but I'm trying to look at some of the things that happen. So you got to give props to the offensive line. They did have a good game. We had our running. We had 156 yards total running against New Orleans. I think New Orleans had 82 yards total. So we ran between Foreman and Bajit. They're the ones that really got most of the yards, but we still had 156 yards. So that's a good thing. We know what really hurt too, and Moore. What Moore did, that was disappointing. He caught a pass. We had a first down, and we were driving again, and then he gets the ball punched out. What the hell? Hang on to that ball, Moore. Now you're an experienced player. You shouldn't allow that stuff to happen. So that because we had 5 turnovers, 4 were on Bajit, 1 was on Moore. And excuse me. That was the thing about the penalties and the turnovers. When they happened, the Bears were driving every single time. The Bears had only 1 3-and-out, and that didn't happen until the fourth quarter. So they were moving the ball. Those mistakes just killed them. But you saw the offense was coming to life. He threw the ball to many receivers. You can't make mistakes like that. No one's going to win a game when they turn over the ball 5 times. It's just not going to happen. So, but I think our defense, considering 5 turnovers, our defense only gave up 24 points. And you know what? You got to give props to that defense, because a lot of those times the New Orleans, when they got the turnover, were always on their side of the field and really good field position, and the Bears stopped them many times. I feel like there was several times that the Bears stopped them on 4th and 1. They stopped them and, forced a field goal. So I think the Bears had a pretty darn good game. We were missing Bajit, number 9 again. He's 2 games now, and you really could tell in the backfield we were missing him, especially when it was, where was that? Let's see what it was. It was the fourth quarter when the New Orleans Saints were going down. It was 17-17. The New Orleans Saints were going down, and Carr throws to a wide open receiver. Nobody was around, and I forget what number came, 22 maybe, came running up. So had Bajit a Brisker number 9 been in there, maybe it don't happen, but you don't know. But he was fucking wide open. That was one of the biggest mistakes the defense, I thought, did. They were playing all over. And I want to mention two standout players in that game yesterday. I know we lost, but Number 57, Sanborn, our linebacker, he had a tremendous game. He was all over the place. He was getting tackles. Unlike last week when they couldn't tackle for shit. This week the Bears were tackling. I could see the difference. And Sanborn, 57, had several tackles and they lost yards. New Orleans lost yards, so he tackled behind the line of scrimmage. He was all over the place. He had a great game. Had the Bears won that game, he would have gotten a game ball, and so would Commence, number 85, our linebacker. He played a great game too, 2 touchdowns, and that one was great. He caught, and he was helping his quarterback. There was a play where Bajit was about to get sacked, and he just tossed the ball over to Comment, and he got a first down. So, and he was all over the field making great catches and just being great. So those two really, really had standout games. We know Santos wouldn't have made any difference because we still would have lost. If he had made that field goal, it would have been 2024. So I'm not going to get on him, but that was his first miss of the year, and let's hope he doesn't have any more. But so that really, you don't want to see him do that, but that certainly didn't cost us the game. The game was lost on the 5 turnovers and 8 penalties. 5 turnovers first, 8 penalties second. You know how I feel. You got to have 5 or less penalties, and the Bears, and most of them were on the offensive line, and they just got to stop that stuff because it stalled drives, and you can't do that. So, you know what? It is a very cut and dry game. I mean, there's really no. I can't even blame. I can't even blame the coaches because I gotta say, Getsy don't get it. He mixed the run and the pass very well yesterday. But when you turn over the ball 5 times, you just have no damn chance, right? So you know what, guys? We're 2-7, right? Yeah. I really thought maybe we had a chance to win the game, and we certainly did. Unfortunately, we know what happened. And now this Thursday, we're playing Carolina at Soldier Field. So I don't know if Fields is going to be in. I'm sure if he's at all close, he's going to be in. For 2 reasons. You want him in there because, as I said, we have to find out if he's our answer moving forward. Excuse me. And we don't want to put Bajit in a bad position. He had a bad game. Although you'd like to put him in this week, get a couple passes and get him comfortable again. But this kid's so comfortable in his own skin, I don't think it's a real problem for him. So I really believe if Fields is, healthy enough to go, he's going to play Thursday for sure. And we need it. He is our starting quarterback, and the party's over with Bajit. We know what we have. He's not awful. He's a good backup for now, and he'll be a good backup. And you never know. Maybe another year watching a quarterback on the field, we'll see. I don't know if you can change the arm strength thing where you can whip him in there like he was trying to do, and he shouldn't have done. So that's pretty much in a nutshell. Probably people thought I was going to come on yelling, but you can't really yell about that game. I mean, they lost, yes, by a touchdown, but we all know why. It wasn't a mixture of stuff. It wasn't the whole team played. Really, the team, on a whole, played a very good game. It was the fumble and interceptions by Bajit, and then the fumble by Moore that contributed to this loss. So that's really it. You can't really blame anyone else because they all played well. That defense is coming together. Now we have Sweat. I don't know what the hell his name is. Number 98. Let's talk about that. Poles traded for him, and we got him from Washington last week. And we gave up a second-round pick in the 2024 draft, and that's the second-round pick, number 35. So I hope this guy, you could see him. He was pressuring last night. Yesterday I was particularly watching for him. But it's his first game with the Bears, so we'll see. He had 17 solo tackles, 6.5 sacks. um, and 2 forced fumbles this year with Washington. So if he could do that here, that's going to really help the defense. I'd like to see him. It was his first game, so we're not going to, but the Bears went out on a big limb here. I don't know if I would have done this, but I think they didn't want anybody else to get him. They signed him to a 4-year, $98 million contract. So I really hope that Poles knows what he's doing, because I read there was a lot of criticism about this trade, and a lot of people thought the Bears shouldn't have done it, or they shouldn't have signed him. They should have waited. And then, we do remember last year at the trade deadline, Poles traded for Claypool, and we know how well that went. And a little tidbit on that, Sweet, the new guy we just got, he he didn't have a place to live because he just came here, so he's renting Chase Claypool's place now. So he's paying him rent, and I'm like, oh my God, I hope that doesn't mean bad juju for this guy, right? Oh God, because we know that Claypool was just bad juju for the Bears from the beginning to the end. He really was. And I want to say this too. Why the hell is Jones, number 12, still on the team? My God, get him off the field and get rid of him. I don't like him. He's not good. I hate when I see him on the field. That's another Poles. He don't want to admit his first draft. He went up to get this guy, this receiver, Jones, number 12, and he has not panned out. But Poles do not want to admit it, that's for sure. I'm so sorry. You know what I told you? Between my allergies and still having a cold from COVID, I can't shake this. And I better, because I have surgery a week from today on my knee. Yes, a week from today. If all goes well, I'm having a complete knee replacement. So, yeah. But I should be able to do the show, because I'm going to do a show Friday because the Bears play on Thursday, so that should work out great. So, but yeah, we'll see about this Poles. I mean, I like the trade. I just wasn't sure I would have jumped in and signed him right away. But what are you gonna do? What do I know, right? I'm just this pickled 65-year-old lady that sits and does this show. Oh, and the other thing I gotta mention: what the hell's up with fight? Now we had another coach fired. Our running backs coach was fired for another HR issue. What the hell is going on at Hallis Hall? I mean, really, that is freaking embarrassing. I mean, seriously. First our defensive coordinator, and now this guy. What are they doing? And what are they watching? Porn on their laptops at work? I mean, seriously. Because you hear they're fired, but you don't hear nothing. You just hear HR. It's disappointing because the Bears, they're the Chicago Bears, and they're a franchise that's been around forever. And these kind of things that happen just don't look good. And I'm sorry, but it's on management and the coaches, because they hired these people. And if you're hiring people that have bad character, what the hell? I mean, this whole year it's just been a shit show. Firings and discontent and this and that. I don't know. I do want this coaching staff gone, regardless. I think they will be, we'll have to see, but I'm pretty sure, especially when GMs say, and I heard Poles say this, oh, I like Flus. I think he's doing a great job. We're very happy. But whenever they say stuff like that, it means you're probably going to get fired. I'm just saying. And one last thing, I read this article the other day, and I thought it was really interesting. It was an article about fans complaining about refs and the calls they are and are not making this year. And I gotta tell you, and they were saying that a lot of fans believe it's bias, if they're in their home team, if it's their favorite team, we don't know, but they feel like there's been a lot of no calls or terrible calls. And I will totally agree with that. And I'm not just saying because of the Bears. The Bears have had a few that were not fair. That one pass interference call we had yesterday late in the game, I don't know if that was pass interference. It certainly didn't look like it to me, but what are you going to do? They called it. But I've been watching. I watch a lot of football, and I've seen a lot of games where there's no calls or the calls were terrible. I mean, some of the. I watched a game a couple weeks ago, and oh, actually, it was the Bears in San Diego, and their quarterback, Herbert, clearly threw intentional grounding. I mean, it was so obvious, and we didn't get a flag, and they should have. And there's been other games when things happen, you see holding or this and that, they don't call it, or they're calling something that is clearly not a good call by the refs. So you just wonder if there's some, you know, merit to this. Maybe the NFL needs to really look into it because I gotta say, this is the first year that I can remember um, that the refs have really not done their job. Refs do have a hard job. They really do, and they do a really good job of spotting that ball. It's amazing how they can do it. And even yesterday in the game, where was it commence? No, it was Bajit who ran for the ball, and then he put it out like this and got the first down, it looked like, and I thought he did. So the one ref said no, and then the lady ref said no, he got it. So she moved it, first down. Then they moved it back, 4th and 1. So Coach Flus did throw the challenge flag. It was a great challenge, and that woman was right. It was a first down. Right on. Woman power in the refs. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. But might be some merit to this, and you don't want to believe that because you got to count on these guys to be truthful, accurate, fair, and stand up and do the right thing. You're getting paid a shit ton of money, and you better be pulling that flag when it's necessary and keeping it in your pocket when it's not necessary. So I don't know. It was a really good article, and it really made me think. I know, right? I know, right? Excuse me. Shit. So, that's it. Not really any excitement here because it's cut and dry. We know why they lost. We'll see what happens on Thursday. We got a big turnaround game, but we are in Soldier Field, so that'll help. Being home helps. Although we don't play good on night games, so maybe they'll show us. Because, again, solid performance by the team if you really look at it. And I pointed out how we won almost every category on offense. But that just shows you what turnovers and penalties could do. You know what I'm saying? And, shoot, I was going to say something. My brain is so pickled. We partied so much. At one point, we were on the strip, which is a fucking mess because they're doing that Formula One race in 2 weeks here, and there's scaffolding everywhere, there's stands everywhere, there's walkways to get over from one side of the strip to the other, and there's just clear glass so you can see. They've coated it so no one can stand on the walkways and see the race for free. It just was terrible. But because of all that, we ended up walking 17,000 steps that day. I've got one good leg. Oh my God, you should have seen me. And I'm old. I'm 65. So, I'm walking with my friends. We're doing this. We are laughing a lot. We're going in and out of all these casinos just looking and this and that. And it was getting so bad. I was like, I need more beer. If I'm going to make this, I need more beer. So they always had to make sure I had a beer in my hand so I could get through it. But anyways, so I'm trying to think. Nothing really else, guys. Let's see what happens on Thursday. I will be back in 2 days on Wednesday to do another show. I mean, you can believe it. It's like a bangity boom. So maybe it's not so bad that I missed show on Friday because you would have really been like, oh my God, her again? Oh, and that's the other thing I've learned. I have got to get business cards with Let's Talk Chicago Bears on it and hand it out because I talked to so many people when my friends were in town and Bears fans and people who are into football, and they're like, oh, I'll watch that show. Well, of course, you tell them, they're not going to remember the next day, right? So I need to get business cards. Don't you guys think? Because I want to my goal this year was 400 subscribers. I am 16 away. I'm at 384. And with the Bears not winning, probably not going to make it. I mean, I know it's not that big a deal, but for this old lady who just loves to talk to bears, and you people watch me, it's cool. So it's a nice goal to have, right? So nothing exciting here today. I was kind of mellow, wasn't I? Well, I'm still tired, and it wasn't a lot to concentrate on the game. It was cut and dry, and we know it. Um, what else? That's it, and I really appreciate you all watching me. I know you were all dying to see me Friday or Saturday. You're like, where the hell is that old broad? But I'm back. I'm back, and let's see what happens. I'll see you on Wednesday. And again, I appreciate you all watching me. You know that. Um, it's just very cool. I don't do this to get notoriety. I know I have a buddy Dan who I do the podcast with on Wednesday night, which I'm assuming we will do this week. We haven't done the last 3 weeks. We've both been, but our podcast is Bears Country Podcast, and then the title of the show is The Down Low with Dan and Lynn. And he's like, I want to get notoriety. I want everybody to know you. I don't think so, Dan, but I love you, and that's okay. The fact that my loyal watchers turn me on. Ooh, do you turn me on? Bum. Um, brings this old lady a lot of happiness, and it makes me smile, and I love you guys. And on that note, I always, I always send to the show, especially now, let's just stick together. We need to stop the hate that is going on in this country. We should just all be one. It doesn't matter if you're tall, short, skinny, fat, black, white, purple, pink. Who cares? We're all people. And we're all the same. We're just trying to get by. And it's hard when all this racism and all these accusations and things, it just breaks my heart. It seriously does. I mean, when I was out and about, with my friends, my one friend said, you do talk to everybody. And I do. I don't care. If you're nice, I want to talk to you. And being nice and care for one another is really what it's about. And we have to do it. Times are just terrible right now. And Bears fans really rock. There's some really good Bears fans out there. But there's good people out there, period. And let's show the good people. Let's stop the negativity and the hate. And let's good people rally around and show people it's much better to smile and to love one another and help each other out. Okay? Unless you're a Packer fan. That's what somebody said to me when I was down on Fremont, I think, and I was playing roulette. Tried my luck, didn't win. But the guy said, I only care if the Bears win one more game, and we all know what game that is, the Packer game. And I agreed with them. We should have won the first one, but we're not going to go down that road. And we're certainly not going to talk about Denver, right? Because we don't want to get my blood pressure up. Although I'm so tired, I don't think it's possible. But anyways, I love you guys. Thank you for watching me. I will see you Wednesday. And I don't know. I think that's it. So you guys have an awesome next couple days. Go Bears. And as always, keep on rocking and rolling from Vegas, baby. See you Wednesday.